Well, as you've been hearing and we've been talking a lot, is if it's that perfect home, it's probably going to have multiple offers. And if it's ready to go and good price point, that's what you could really expect. So I think there's a couple of things. I think, one we were talking about earlier is setting your budget. Maybe you don't go to the top of your budget with what you're looking for because you need to build in a little padding because you might be paying over, or you might be getting at a certain price, but it's got some work that needs to be done. So those are some things you want to work with your agent on and being strategical on how you think about a budget. Mm-hmm. I think another is price. And like we've talked about, you probably are going to need to pay at or above list price depending on that listing. And depending on that neighborhood and what you're looking for and what others are looking for too. So, we've got some that have gone, as much as 25, 50, even higher than that, over and above list price. Price is not always the most important thing. Again, sometimes it's whatever those seller needs are. You just need to kind of keep that in mind as you look at different homes, on. I think financing is another good one too to be thinking about. We are seeing cash deals. We've always kind of seen a sprinkling of cash deals. Right now, I feel like there's less because rates are so good. Most people don't want to tie up their money. Mm-hmm. But what would be a really smart thing to do is to get a very strong lender partner that can get you all the way approved. So you still have a, no finance contingency, a zero finance contingency. And what's great about it is, as a buyer, then you don't have any surprises. You know what your payment's going to be. With respect to maybe the only differences are what your taxes and your HOA fees might be. So I think that's a really smart thing to do. And again, we've got great lender partners if anybody needs a referral for someone that can take you that way, that distance, because a lot of them don't want to put in the time because it's a lot of upfront work. You're basically being taken through the entire underwriting process. But again, I think it pays for itself in the long run.
Another thing that our lender partners are willing to do for our clients is make a phone call on their behalf.
Yes, I love
and
that.
Call the listing agent and vouch for, hey, I've already, I have checked out all of this. I've looked at their income documents. I've pulled their credit. I've looked at their tax returns, and just, yes, I'm very confident we will close this buyer. Mm-hmm. And if your lender isn't willing to do that for you, then you're already, again, you're kind of behind. Because sellers have to assume the worst, they have to assume, well, this person may not close. So any peace of mind you can give them is going to help your offer a lot.
Definitely. Another point it's always a sticking point test too is due diligence. So what due diligence is the time that you have. You could basically, as a buyer, get out of a contract for any reason, and your earnest money is protected. What it's supposed to be for is for your inspections, make sure you want to be at that house, you like the neighborhood, all those kinds of things. What I would say right now is do your due diligence up front. Save it for inspection only. But make sure you already love that neighborhood. Make sure you already, are kind of bought into the schools, bought into everything about the area and what Publix you're going to go to, whatever grocery store you're going to. Make sure you already are happy about all of those things. So then really, you're just being smart about it, and maybe you're not even doing due diligence. Maybe you're just doing an inspection contingency. I know as a seller, that would give me a lot more peace of mind than knowing they can get out for whatever reason they want, and now I'm back to square one.
And honestly, that can be the one thing that chooses the seller to go with an offer over yours.
Absolutely.
Because when you get multiple offers, a lot of times they're going to be the same price, and they're going to have to go down and look at all the other terms. And it could come down to this person asked for 7-day due diligence period, or this one asked for a 10-day due diligence period. That 3 days could cost you getting a house over someone else.
Well, and think of it too. We had this come up. In the last month. We had a virtual buyer of a home. They had already flown back to wherever they were from, and they sent their agent to do the virtual tour of it. They wanted to do it, or video tour of it. They wanted to buy it. They put in a very strong offer, but they had 10 days of due diligence, and it was actually the highest price of all of them. And the seller said, no, thank you. I mean, because what they're probably doing in all reality is they're going to use those 10 days to fly out and make sure they like it. And, that's not helping anybody right now. So, it's unfortunate for those people that, are away, but you've really got to be serious. You've got to be serious right now. Otherwise, you're probably going to lose the house. I think another thing is earnest money. I think it's fair to say typical for resales is about 1%. of the list price. New construction's a different ballgame, but I think when you're in a multiple bid and you want your offer to stand out, putting a higher percentage down, 2%, 3%, maybe you even jack it up to 5%, what you would be expected with new construction. Those are some things, again, that can show like, oh, these people are very serious with it. And then closing costs. You want to talk on that one? I think this is a good one.
You know, for so many years, even in a seller's market, it wasn't uncommon at all for the sellers to be paying some of the buyer's closing costs. You know, it wasn't uncommon for a buyer to offer, you know, maybe they'd offer full price, but they'd say the seller would pay all their closing costs. Well, right now, we're just not seeing that happen. It's pretty rare. So really, having your closing costs saved up and being prepared to pay your own. And what we're talking about is costs associated with your loan, your prepaid taxes, prepaid insurance, HOA fees, stuff like that. As a buyer, being prepared and having that saved up so that you can pay that. A lot of people have the conception that you can roll that into your loan, but what that really was is you're inflating the sales price and then having the seller pay those closing costs. But if we run into appraisal issues, that's not gonna work. So it's just, you know, that's one of the biggest changes I can say that has shifted, and it does make it a little more difficult for first-time home buyers to kind of get in the game because they've already, you know, been trying to save up their down payment. You've gotta have those closing costs. We can certainly try to negotiate those in for you. It's not saying it never ever happens, but it's, you know, again, every little thing in your offer can count against you, and that's one of the things that you could lose a home over if you ask the seller for the closing costs.
How about being a little creative?
Oh, I think being creative is huge right now. Especially if you've got, like, we had somebody with 14 offers, and it's like, how do you make, like, they're all perfect, they're all on their own in any other market, they would all be beautiful and like a gift. But how do you make yours stand out? So some things that we've seen and we've done ourselves that are pretty cool is ring doorbell. I'm just gonna say there's one thing, and Inez, if you're listening, I know you said it this week, but assume you're always being watched because you probably are, even when you're in someone's home, but use it to your advantage. You know, maybe you send a little message to that seller on your way out. We love your house. We, you know, choose our offer. Maybe you just use it to your advantage. What you don't want to do is, and if my clients are watching right now that this happened to them, I still can't believe this happened, but literally, there were agents lined up to go into this gorgeous house that came on. It's the one that got all these offers, or one of the ones that got all these offers. 2 agents were fighting. Their poor buyers were like, they could not believe that was happening. And it's all on tape. I'm like, you need to sell that, but I'm not gonna. I don't have it, but I've seen it. So anyway, guess what offer they didn't want to pick when they saw somebody or an agent or their people that were going to be difficult to work with. So you can kind of scratch that off. So make sure you think about that you're always being watched.
Yeah, it's not just the ring doorbell at the front door either, even inside.
Right.
I mean, honestly, don't discuss your offer in the house. Don't criticize their furniture in the house. Don't sit down on their furniture by any means. People get really mad when you make yourself at home in their house.
Keep your kids with you because
don't your kids
don't let your kids run around. We've got some crazy stories we will not share now. But if you ever want to hear them, it's small. They're pretty funny.
We should probably never share them.
We should probably never share them. Actually, we won't. That'll be in our book that we write one day.
That's right.
Another thing that I thought was really cool, and we didn't do this. I didn't do this, but I might do it one day. The buyers sent my clients flowers.
Wow, that's really
beyond. It really with a really sweet little letter. So, you know, and that kind of bleeds into
pull at their heartstrings.
Totally, I know. They were gorgeous flowers too, I tell you. And then that kind of goes along with the writing the love letter. And you got to be careful about that. Right now, there's lots of talk about that in our agent life about, you know, making sure it's, you know, okay from a fair housing perspective. But I still think it's really strong. Just work with your agent to put a correct letter together that really talks about the pros of their home and why it works for their family.
And just being gracious. Thank you so much for letting us come see it. You know,
it never hurts to put a pretty family picture. We've even had some that send like a video like of why we want your house. There's just any kind of thing like that could help. I know you've left letters at houses before, like just a thank you.
I've had clients come home to like little post-it notes left on their counter that just said, "Oh, we love your home. Thank you so much for letting us see it." And that just makes them feel good. You know, sellers go to a lot of trouble to
They
get their
do.
house ready for showings and to come home and see that.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know, Sarah, we actually added a question that I think you have, and Mom, you might not know yet. Did we add a question? Sarah?
On what was it on? About the
On the buyer?
Did we do this? Just a quick second. Remember, it wasn't this one, but I don't think I went
about the community.
It was going to be about balancing.
This is huge.
This is huge.
This is a huge.
We scratched one big question out for this one because we knew you guys would want
That's
this.
like, oh, yeah. So
What I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.